We've got to start paying attention to the things that we take in. Art imitates life, life imitates art. It's both.
Hey, it's me.
Hello, beans. Hello. Welcome back. You spoke. I listened. I asked my beans on Instagram last week if they would rather see a video about how to use social media to empower you or movies, books, and TV that empower me that I can share with you. And I think it was 80-something%. I'll throw a screenshot up here. It was 80% voted for empowering movies, books, and TV. And you know what? That's an amazing idea. I already wanted to make a video on this topic because of how it's affected me. We're used to consuming blindly. Oh yeah, I like that, so I'm gonna watch it. And you watch it and you're like, that's a great movie. Or you read it and you're like, that's a great book. And then you put it down and you're like, yeah, I love those stories. I love that character. The theme's really cool. Not realizing how much it relates to our own lives. And they do. There's a reason we love these themes. There's a reason we love these storylines and these characters. Because if we really look at it, that's who we want to be. We've got to start paying attention to the things that we take in, whether it's the things that we eat, whether it's the things that we watch, the things that we read, things that we listen to, the things we actually let ourselves care about. We've got to be very intentional about that. Regardless of what news you do not pay attention to, what politics, if you don't care about them, if you don't care about whatever. We are all still residents of the planet, and the planet's dying. So we have to pay a little attention moving forward. Otherwise, we're gonna literally have a situation like one of the movies that I'm talking about. So you guys wanted it. I wanted to do it. However, I have had such a hard time. I was going into this and I was going to film it as like one video. But I have a love of TV and movies, books, and I want to be able to really give you guys the full experience, I guess. I've decided, in lieu of a 3-hour video, I'm going to do this as its own little series every Thursday. And they may not be super long videos, but I will do 5 books, movies, TV shows every week that empower me and inspire me and motivate me. We'll all talk about those things, whether you like them, what inspires you, what you want me to talk about next as far as that goes, and then I'll keep doing my regular videos on Sundays. So that would be fun to like make this its own series and do its own little thing with it. And you know, who knows, maybe it'll stay on here, maybe it'll become like a short thing I do or like a reels thing I do. But we'll see. Right now, I'm enjoying doing it this way. Let me know, would you prefer to continue seeing it kind of long form-ish and have its own days, or would you rather just see it in shorts, like once a week? Let me know in the comments. Expect that in the future. Next week, Sundays will go back to being regular self-empowerment videos, life coaching, spiritual coaching, that kind of stuff. Next week, we're going to talk about how we can use our social media to empower us and how we can change the narrative around that. That was the other one. I see you people that voted for that one. I didn't forget you. Also, make sure you're keeping an eye out for the polls here and on Instagram so you get a say in what I post, because I do hold your opinions and your comments and your values as my own. So let me know. I'm gonna try to make sure to be posting them over here just as much. YouTube weirdly doesn't like notify me when people answer my polls here. Sometimes it's easier to do it on my Instagram story, so you should just follow me over there just in case if you want to keep up to date with those. Also, I have posted my manifestations from last week and my goals for this year on my Ko-fi. I think that's it for like announcements and like housekeeping. Let's get into it. These first 5. Everybody wants to talk about the new stuff, so I'll start with the new stuff, which also has some old stuff. Let's go. So the first one I wanted to mention is the one that really inspired the whole video. I decided I wanted to make a video about this after I saw Barbie. It inspired this whole idea because as I'm watching it, I'm having like this visceral emotional experience watching every woman's life play out on a screen in front of me. I mean, emotional to say the least. I'm feeling all these emotions, and the thing is that Barbie is not the first movie that made me feel that way. I do think Barbie is amazing because it's the first one that it named the patriarchy specifically. It named feminism. It named Barbie. It named a very specific and literal experience that most humans go through. Male, female, in between, all. That is a beautiful thing. I'm so glad that's happening, and I do think it needs to happen more. But the thing is, I feel like movies have been doing that to a certain extent. Like, we're so used to just taking things in. We've just been taught to like sit and watch, take it in. We think about it a little, but we're also taught to like press down things that are too emotional or too complex. We end up like just being like, I love this. I don't know why. I'm just obsessed with this trilogy or whatever. And I don't know. It's because these themes, they're all themes of our psyche. They're themes of our collective human experiences. I actually will be talking about that when I start posting more on Ko-fi with my Women Who Run with Wolves in my book of the month on there. It's Clarissa Pinkola Estes. The whole book really is about taking these stories and these fables and these tales that we've been told for generations upon generations upon generations, and how those themes still play out today in our psyches and our lives. And once I read that book, I started noticing those themes much more bluntly in everything around me, especially in the media. And I became more conscious of those things. I want you guys to become more conscious of those things. But remember how you felt like walking out of Barbie, or like even just during the movie, like sitting there and being like, yes, I feel so seen. By the end, feeling so empowered and so inspired to do more and be more and say more. I'm gonna give you that feeling with a lot of movies from now on. Like, that is in so many movies. You just have to start noting it when it's not so obvious and in your face, when they're not naming it the patriarchy, when they're not naming it Barbie, when they're not naming it feminism, when it's just a theme. Thank you, Barbie. Your literalness was very much needed. Let me decode the rest for you. Now we'll get into the meat of it. The like list of it. Y'all, look, I got my notebook. Y'all know I got my notebook. This is a new notebook. I don't know if y'all noticed. It's new. What I want to talk about is a movie series and a book series. So it's a twofer. We all already know and love it. It just had a new installment come out. It is The Hunger Games. I started reading the Hunger Games books in 9th grade in 2009. My English teacher, who I loved very much, I still send her love to this day, she like, Maxine, you gotta read this. Okay, I trust your judgment. I'm drawn to anything post-apocalyptic or dystopian, futuristic fantasy. I love stuff like that. I like to escape reality for a little bit. But at the same time, I think I've always felt like I would or do live in a dystopian society to a certain extent, or like a post-apocalyptic society. Like, I'm drawn to it naturally so I can defend myself when the time comes. But I digress. I already love the genre, but reading the books, I was even more obsessed. We've got Katniss, who, along with being a female lead, which we all love, duh, she is not driven like a lot of female leads by romantic love. She does feel romantic love, and she has the romantic conflict between two different men. But Katniss is driven by the love of her family. She is driven by the love of her sister. And that becomes the love of Rue, who is her sister in the games. Through that deep, courageous love of a stranger, she ends up bonding with a district that she's never been to. Like, far away from her, she bonds with a whole people through her love, genuine love of one person that reminded her of her own sister. That is so beautiful and so powerful. And if you've never really explored that theme, you definitely should, because it's in other media. A lot of people people talked about it when Frozen came out because Elsa didn't end up with anyone. I said I wasn't going to do spoilers. I'm not going to do spoilers. Frozen's not on my list today, so I don't feel bad. Elsa didn't end up with anyone, so that's why that was noted so much, that she was driven by the love of her sister. But so was Katniss, dude. She had 2 guys, and she really, at the end of the day, could have cared less as long as she could have protected those girls. So powerful, so beautiful. I love that. And that is something that I definitely noticed pretty early on. And I was like, I want to be more like that. I want to be like that. I wasn't like that for a while, but I knew I wanted to be. Katniss was definitely a really good character for me to cling to. Also, I mean, let's be real here. Who hasn't thought that the Hunger Games could possibly happen? Tell me that some of our reality TV, some of our entertainment now doesn't remind you of the entertainment on the Hunger Games. Tell me that The Masked Singer doesn't give a little dystopian society vibe. Please. We'll move on to our Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which my mother-in-law got me this for Christmas year it came out, 2021. Before my son was born, January 2nd, 2022. I was going to read this in the hospital. It is a 517 page book. I read this thing in 3 days. I did not read it in the hospital. I devoured it. It was so good. I still haven't got to watch the movie. I'm not going to lie, but I'm so excited to. I will say too that will not very often hear me say that a movie did very well in encapsulating as much of the story and as much of the theme as the book. I do genuinely think that the Hunger Games does really well with that. I think that they encapsulate just as much of the book into those movies as they possibly can, while still taking some creative liberties. Creatives are gonna do that. Why do we keep acting surprised? But anyway, I haven't got to watch the movie for it yet. I'm very excited to though, because almost always I'm gonna say that a book is better than a movie or a TV show, because reading it, you get their thoughts in your head. You get every emotion. You feel it with them. And I love that. I know not everybody's down for reading. I love it for that reason. What is so poignant about this one is that it's about Snow before Katniss, back when he was a kid, back when the Hunger Games were new and everyone was still pretty terrified of them. You watch his story and he's just a normal person for the most part. I mean, his family's got some ties to wealth back in the day, but they're definitely no one is wealthy really now. There are very few wealthy people in the society at this time. So he's just a normal guy, and you feel him, you watch him go through these emotions, you see him fall for this girl, and then you watch his soul twist, dude. It's so crazy and so abrupt, and I think it's so important because it shows that not only can anyone be powerful, but anyone can choose to be powerfully good or powerfully bad. It really can go either way with anyone. That's about human choice, and that is what is so terrifying. That's why I think that this is so important, and I feel like a lot of people may not be really grasping that that's why it leaves you so shook. It's because that could be any single one of us. All it takes is that choice. All it takes is that one moment of deciding, I don't care anymore. I don't want to be human anymore. And turning it off. That is so scary. That is so realistic. And that's why these are so touching. They are so close to what is and could be the truth. And of course, again, not trying to give any spoilers or whatever here, but the whole revolution aspect, redoing and taking down corrupt systems. I'm just saying. But anyway, let's move along. The next one I'm talking about is a TV show. It is an animated TV show. Most TV shows I watch are animated. I love animation. I mean, are we surprised? Let's be real. It is a new show on Netflix. It is called Carol and the End of the World. I knew it was going to be good, y'all. I knew it was going to be good. And I'm going to be completely real. The animation is so reminiscent of South Park that I put off watching it for a week. I'm not hating on South Park, but that animation style personally it weirds me out. My brain does not like it. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, this animation style is so extremely similar, and I just don't know if I'm gonna be able to enjoy it or if it's just gonna throw me off the whole time. It's so worth it. It's so worth it. If you're weirded out by the animation style at all, you'll get past it. The story is so good. The characters are so relatable, and it's so real. It's got very like Don't Look Up vibes, which I am going to be mentioning later, but like funny, and it shows like every array of human emotion that you would go through in such a scenario, and I think it's such an important thing to watch right now. It is so cute. You form an emotional attachment to almost every character that you're introduced to because they're all someone you know. I hope that shows you the places that you want to grow, and I hope that you realize that it's not the end of the world yet. We can still make those changes now. I think Carol brings up a lot of like really heavy topics in a really dark but still funny way, like easier to swallow way. I love Carol and the End of the World. On Netflix, go watch that. The next one I'm going to talk about is also on Netflix. It is new. I may get some people disagreeing with me about this one, and you know what? I would have disagreed at first too, so hear me out. It is Rebel Moon. It is a Zack Snyder film. I'll put all of these things in the description so you guys can go find them if you want. I love cinema. It's something that I've loved from a very early age. So I am well aware of Zack Snyder's reputation in cinema. I know it's a lot of bang, boom, slow frames, tropes. I get it. But at the same time, I'm someone who can appreciate a good trope. I'm someone who can appreciate a good frame if there is a good storyline and good characters and character development behind it. And with this one, he delivered, okay? Zack Snyder really delivered with Rebel Moon. I don't care what Rotten Tomatoes says. I don't care what your local cinema snob says. I don't care. I watched Rebel Moon, and what I saw was yet another strong female lead who, again, there's romance, but like the whole time you're like, girl, what? Like, oh, it's so good. I love the inclusivity of the cast. I genuinely love the storyline and themes presented. Very heavy on colonization and fighting back against colonization. Very heavy on corrupt governments. Heavy on like future technology. Your corrupt leaders, your corrupt governments. It had your colonized baby turned soldier, turned rebel. It had a plot twist that really hurt. It even had like the jaded rebel leaders who had really forgotten what they were actually fighting for to kind of be reminded by a simple farmer who didn't want his people to be murdered by a corrupt government. Do y'all hear me? It's so good. I found it so empowering. Go watch this movie. I personally am obsessed with a character called Jimmy. Jimmy is a robot. He's made by the government to work for the military, but this Jimmy is special, and he decides not to help the government. He disappears for like 80% of the movie, and then he comes back looking like an absolute badass. Jimmy. There's a part 2. I think it's coming out in like April or May. I'm really excited for it because I definitely know Jimmy's going to play a bigger part. And honestly, it's another one where the cast is it's very relatable, almost to a painful extent. You love each character. They're too real. It definitely gave off like Star Wars vibe, which doesn't make me mad. It actually made me really like it. Some people are going to be like, "Yay, copy Star Wars." I like it. This is about the ones that it empowered me. Rebel Moon, amazing, on Netflix. Go watch it. There'll be a part 2. If you don't want to watch it, don't, but you're missing out on a good movie. The last one that we are going to talk about this week is a book, and it is a book that I wish I had had when I was a teenager. And it's so funny because it's something that like the character in this book reflects on as well. Dang, like what if I had it all figured out when I was young? The thing is, we don't. No one does. I mean, I guess some people do, but very few people really have it figured out. This book is just so inspiring for anyone that has ever dealt with depression or anxiety or FOMO or literally just a human existence when you're burnt out and you're lost. You've gone off track and it feels impossible to get back on track. I highly suggest to anyone that has it, read The Midnight Library. It is so good, so inspirational, touching, relatable. I feel like Matt Haig reached into my brain and took like my memories and ideas. So not, like they're definitely all his. I'm just gonna read the summary on the cover for you guys. A dazzling novel about all the choices that go into a life well lived. Between life and death, there is a library. Up until now, Nora Seed's life has been full of misery and regret. She feels she has let everyone down, including herself. But things are about to change. When she finds herself in the Midnight Library, she has a chance to make things right. The books in the Midnight Library enable Nora to live as if she had done things differently. Each one contains a different life, a possible world in which she had made different choices that played out in an infinite number of ways, affecting everyone she knew, as well as many people she never met. With the help of an old friend, she can now undo every decision she regrets as she tries to work out her perfect life. But things aren't always what she imagined they'd be, and soon her choices place the library and herself in extreme danger. Before time runs out, she must answer the ultimate question. What is the best way to live? And that is so beautiful. I definitely think it answered that question for me personally. Holding it in my hands, I'm probably gonna go reread it now. Reread it. It'll be one of our books of the month over on Ko-fi. So you should definitely read The Midnight Library. Decide if it's something that also empowers you or if something else is more your speed. Like I said, I'll have more of these videos coming out every Thursday. I got them all planned out. We got at least 5 episodes planned. Stay tuned on Thursday for more books and movies and TV shows that empower and inspire me, and I hope do the same for you. I love you beans so much. I hope that this has educated, enlightened, or inspired you. I hope you feel empowered. I hope you remember who you are and remember how powerful you are, because I know you are. Be kind to each other. Be kind to yourself. Kiss from me and the universe to you. Mwah. Until next time.